Hey guys, so good morning, good afternoon, and of course, in some parts of the world, good evening. It's Ash. So, my video that I want to talk about, right, I'm going to talk about this topic, is lessons and blessings. This is the way I alchemize pain or negative situations that occur in my life or difficult people that I have to deal with, right? I look at it as that person was either a lesson or a blessing, right? Because that's what God does in our lives. It is not to break us, right? It is to make us. And when we have that mindset of making, not breaking, and we know that that's what God is doing, we can look at life in a more positive way, right? We can put a positive spin on the situation. Am I right? That's the way I look at life. And that is why I'm able to be calm and at peace with situations that have occurred in my life. I don't want to have those situations or those people weigh me down, right? It's like that rope, like I was talking about the other day, that proverbial rope that you're holding on to so tightly, right? When you are bitter or angry about a situation or the way somebody did you, right? You're holding on to a lot of stress and a lot of pain. And I'm going to tell you, it ages a person. Look at me, I'm like, hey, light as a feather, right? That's how I keep young. I don't hold on to grudges. I don't get bitter. I don't get angry. What I do is I alchemize the situation and I say, God, teach me to understand what the lesson was behind this, right? Because eventually, when you learn the lesson, there is no more karmic cycles, and that just goes away, right? It just goes away because God's like, you learn the lesson, you're not going to go through that again, I promise. But there's going to be some more, right? Because that's just the way it is with life, right? But when you have learned, you break the cycles, you're breaking that karmic cycle of life, and God's like, all right, cool, graduation time. Then you move on to bigger, better things, right? New levels, new devils. That's the way I look at it. But God is like, hey, look, I want you to learn that you're going to come up against situations and you're going to come up against people who don't have your best interest at heart, but they're going to teach you something, right? It's a challenge. It will challenge you to be better, right? To be wiser, to be more well equipped to handle anybody that comes up against you in that same shape or form, right? And you know, you've already broken that karmic cycle. You learned the lesson, so you know how to handle it, right? So you're going to come up against people and situations that are going to be lessons and blessings. And you'll know the people that come into your life that are just pure blessings, right? They not only do they teach you things, but in a positive way. Now, these other people are lessons and they're like, ugh, in a negative way. But you have to learn how to alchemize it, right? That's what I do. I'm a master alchemizer and I alchemize pain into power. And I don't mean it in a bad way, right? Because when people hear that word power, they think, ugh, it's just mean and ugh. No, I mean, turn it into your power, right? And I mean it in a positive way because when you alchemize any negative situation, you have won, right? You win every time when you are the bigger person and you learn that there is going to be a lesson behind every one of those nasty situations, whether it be a nasty person you come across. Just, because that's just how some people are. They're just nasty. That's the only thing I can think of is their attitudes are just nasty. But you have to learn to alchemize whatever it is that they're throwing. You take it back, right? You take it. All right, you gonna throw it, I'm gonna take it. And guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna turn it into power, right? To be the best version of myself, right? Because we're here to glorify God. We're not here to glorify people. Nah. People are like, you really just don't listen to what the world says, do you? I'm like, no, because I'm here for God's glory. I'm here for God and God only, right? And how would it look if God's chosen, right, were to act the way the rest or most of the world acts. Not good, right? Because I watch, I observe, and I don't like the way a lot of people are. I'm just gonna be honest, I don't. It's just nasty, negative, disgusting attitudes, right? They're just sickening. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just here to say that you can choose to be a bigger person, and you can take that nasty energy that people are throwing at you, or just they're just not good people, right? I'm just gonna be honest. There are just nasty people, right? Nasty people, and their nasty attitudes are effective to some people, right? They just rub off on some people, and I'm here to say, don't let that stuff absorb into your psyche. Block it out, and learn that there's a lesson behind it. And you know what? Take the lesson that's learned behind it and turn it into your power. Because if you are alchemizing with God and you're like, God, I know I got this, we got this, He's going to teach you what the lesson was, and you're going to learn it, right? And you're going to become wise beyond belief, like really wise, way beyond your years. Trust me, I know it. I am. Because I work with God, right? I don't work with people. No, I work with the divine. I work with angels, and I work with God like this, closely, right? I don't. The world is just too for me. I'm just being honest. It really is disgusting, right? I've gone through a transformation, and I'm like, oh, this is actually really frightening. It's really gross. And it's really not comfortable. So I work with God very closely. But when you learn to take a negative situation and you turn it into a positive situation for yourself, you win every single time. Learn to look at life that way, right? That's a positive mindset. A positive mindset is, wow, what lesson did I learn behind this? What was it, right? And if you don't understand what it is, go to God and say, God, what was the point of all of this? Like, what was it? And God is going to show you. He's going to tell you, right? And God and I are telepathic. We communicate that way. And God does show me. And I'm like, kudos, thanks, God. I learned the lesson. I know what it is. But He does. He speaks to me every day. Like, yeah. And people are like, how did you know that? I'm like, because God speaks to me. And when you're a divine being, you have that gift of telepathy. But anyway, it's wise to take those types of situations in your life and turn them into something positive, because when you're holding on to resentments, you're holding on to grudges, you're holding on to those things, as opposed to saying, what did I learn from it? You're going to do yourself a disservice. You're going to age yourself, and you're going to start looking the way you feel, right? But when you're positive, you let it go, right? You just release it out. You're like, I learned the lesson. Karmic lesson learned. Karmic cycle broken, right? So when you learn to do that, you learn that with God, there is never revenge. There is only justice, right? When you know that without a shadow of a doubt, that yes, someone may have unfairly put you through a situation, and you learned what the lesson was, but God's going to go back and say, all right, we're going to get justice on this one, right? Right, because that's what God does. But in a fair manner, right? Because God is the ultimate judge. God has the last say, right? So when you look at life like that, you feel a lot more freer. You become a lot more at peace. You become a lot smarter, a lot wiser, and more well-equipped to handle any of those other lessons that might come your way. So alchemize all of this shit in your life, right? And you'll learn that it was either a lesson or a blessing. Peace, love, and light. Bye, you guys.